All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to talk about two totally different master plans for survival. You see, every living thing on this planet, from the absolute smallest bacteria to the most massive whale, uses one of these core strategies to win the game of life. So, let's get right into it.
So here's a question for you. What on earth could a tiny little dandelion, the kind of thing that's here one day and gone the next, what could it possibly have in common with a gigantic, majestic elephant that can live for decades? It sounds like a trick question, right? But the answer is actually way simpler and honestly way more profound than you might think.
That's it, a life strategy. They both have a plan, a game plan for survival that's been tweaked and perfected over millions and millions of years of evolution. Every single organism has a fundamental playbook for how it invests its energy, how it reproduces, and how it faces the future. And it turns out almost all of those playbooks fall into one of two major categories.
Okay, so first up, let's meet the sprinters. You can think of these guys as the ultimate opportunists of the natural world. Their whole approach isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. Nope, it's all about being the fastest and the most numerous. The scientific term for these guys is R-selected species. Now don't let the letter throw you off. The R here just stands for the rate of population growth, and their entire existence is built around cranking that rate up to the absolute maximum. They love unstable, unpredictable environments. Think of a freshly plowed field or a temporary puddle after a rainstorm. The second an opportunity pops up, bam, they just multiply like crazy.
And when you look at their traits, it all just makes perfect sense. Because their environment is so chaotic, they have to act fast. So they produce a massive number of offspring. That's what high fecundity means. These babies are small and they mature incredibly quickly. There's just no time for parental care, it's purely a numbers game. Think about mosquitoes, bacteria, or our old friend the dandelion, just casting thousands of seeds to the wind and hoping for the best.
Their survival story is, it's kind of brutal, but it's incredibly effective. It leads to what scientists call a type 3 survivorship curve. Imagine this, thousands, maybe even millions are born, but the vast majority die off almost immediately. They get eaten, they starve, they just land at a bad spot. But, and this is the absolute key, as long as a few lucky ones survive long enough to have their own babies, the strategy is a total success.
Now, for the complete opposite approach. Forget the sprinters. It's time to meet the marathon runners. These organisms are playing the long game. They're investing for stability and ultimately for dominance.
These are the K-selected species. In this case, K refers to the carrying capacity of an environment. That's just the maximum number of individuals that an ecosystem can sustain. See, these organisms live in really stable, predictable places where things are already pretty crowded. In this kind of world, the game is no longer about speed. It's all about outcompeting your neighbors.
So, in a stable world, you can afford to invest. These species have very few offspring, sometimes just one at a time. But that offspring is usually large, takes a long time to develop, and gets an enormous amount of parental care and teaching. We see this in elephants, whales, great apes, and, of course, in us humans. The entire goal is to create an individual so well prepared that it can outcompete pretty much everyone else.
Honestly, if you had to boil down the K strategy into a single phrase, this would be it. Built to last, not to multiply. It's just perfect. It's not about overwhelming the environment with sheer numbers. It's about crafting an individual so robust and so well prepared that its survival is almost a guarantee.
So we have the sprinters and we have the marathon runners, the opportunists and the competitors. Now let's put them side by side to really drive home the differences. The contrast is it's stark. It's night and day. Unstable environments reward quantity over quality, with absolutely no time for parenting. Stable environments, they demand the exact opposite, incredibly high-quality offspring that get tons of parental care to give them that competitive edge.
And when you lay it all out like this, you can just see how opposite these two strategies are across pretty much every single trait. The end results, their survivorship rates, are basically mirror images of each other. But, and this is super important to remember, this isn't a strict binary. It's not like you're either one or the other. You should really think of it more like a spectrum. Plenty of species fall somewhere in the middle, mixing and matching traits. This theory just gives us the two extremes, the two ends of the scale, to help us understand the forces that are at play.
So this is a really fascinating theory, right? But Why does this battle between quantity and quality actually matter in the real world? Well, as it turns out, the implications are huge.
The single most important thing to get from this is that there is no single winner. Both of these strategies are incredibly successful ways of solving the problem of existence. The best strategy is entirely dependent on the environment. One is not better than the other, they are just perfectly adapted to different conditions.
And knowing that difference is absolutely vital. I mean, think about it. When we're dealing with pests like mosquitoes or weeds, classic R strategists, we know they can rebound from almost any setback incredibly quickly. But on the flip side, when we're trying to conserve endangered species like whales or tigers, classic K strategists, we know their populations recover painfully slowly. It means that every single individual is precious.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As our planet's environments become more and more unpredictable, which strategy do you think holds the advantage for the future? The fast-adapting, numerous sprinters, or the resilient but slow-to-recover marathon runners? It's definitely something to think about.